Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. This is the sort of, biopic of Weird Al. And although most biopics and biopics, as people like to say, have a certain amount of myth-making and play with the truth to make the, mythologize the character you're doing, Weird Al decided to take a different approach with that and basically completely make up his backstory with sprinkled a little bit of truth in there, and you get Weird the Al Yankovic story. Basically, I think part of the fun is explaining the plot, but it's basically like how Weird Al became a superstar. You know how these things go. No, I was apprehensive. I love Weird Al, and I've loved Weird Al since I was like in 5th grade or something. I don't know, whenever I first heard Eat It, and we listen to Eat It at dinner for the kids now, so I still love Weird Al and everything, so I was excited for that part. The part I wasn't excited for and was worried about was that Walk Hard had already been made, the spoof of the kind of music biopic movie. I was like, can Weird Al live up to that, something that's already been done? Usually back in the day, when he made a parody song of something, almost like half the morning radio shows in your area had already done it, but yet he'd still managed to put out a good parody that you still really liked. And I don't remember many of those. I remember people saying like, I still like, Flea Jerk and the Jizz Moppers cover of, Baltimoreans Paradise or something. I don't know what the fuck. There were a bunch of them. I don't remember any of them, but I do remember this thing. And I think Weird Al still has something to offer, and that's what this film does, is basically takes his a story and goes completely like ridiculous with it. If you've seen UHF and you've seen any of his things that are not like more movies and specials and UHF obviously, then it's similar to that. They exaggerate it where things from like him and Madonna having this long relationship just so she can get like a surgeon, because his parodies are so big, the artists he parodies, it gives them a bump, I guess. And in the fact that Eat It was an original song, Michael Jackson actually covered it and made Beat It, which I think that part is really funny, where like now people will think Beat It was first when Eat It was like, that's really hilarious. This is like the most famous song he's ever done. Like something like that is really funny because it's ridiculous. Like obviously, Beat It was first. So like a lot of it, you knowingly as an audience member with half a part of intelligence know that this is a joke, and it's very obvious about that, but that kind of is what makes it so funny. I think Walk Hard is being general about it, and much like Pop Star, and much like how even the Ruddles, which I believe was the first mockumentary kind of band thing, Spinal Tap is making fun of a thing but was not basing that off of a previous film, or at least entirely like those other films were. And this, I think, is being general about it. It's obviously acknowledging things like Bohemian Rhapsody and Walk the Line and shit like that. This is specific to like, well, what if we completely make up Weird Al's backstory? What if we poke holes in the idea of mythologizing someone famous and just go completely ridiculous and make fun of the fact that none of this shit makes any sense? None of these people are as amazing as you think they are. Let's have a ton of cameos, things like that. It very much plays into that. I did like if you're wondering, probably the one question other than did you like it would be, did you like the Divine cameo? And I did. I thought that was really cool. I like that all the cameo celebrity things, they're like done in the costumes you'd recognize them most as, not necessarily the costumes of the period, which I thought was pretty funny actually. This was originally developed or made about 10-12 years ago as a Funny or Die like comical short. I think they made a Betty Boop sort of thing with this as well, and it was directed, the original one was directed by Eric Appel, who directed this and co-wrote it. Apparently Weird Al always wanted him to do it because he liked that parody and stuff, which is cool. Like they stayed together and developed this from that long ago. Apparently Patton Oswalt was originally supposed to be Dr. Demento, but he was too busy or something, so Rainn Wilson came in and stuff like that. And you can kind of tell it's sort of done on the cheap. It almost feels a bit like what used to be a TV movie now is I don't know, but this on Roku or whatever, because they shot in like 18 days. So it was done rather quickly, very cheaply. But that apparently they were going to have more people, but people weren't available, blah, blah, but who were in the original short film, which is also funny. You may have seen it 12 years ago or something. But you do kind of get that Funny or Die college humor kind of sense of humor through this, but also with Weird Al. I think that sort of works for it. It didn't annoy me. I still had a really good time with it. It makes sense some of that would go into like a feature-length thing, or at least a feature-length thing is being promoted as much as this is through Roku. It's interesting that like we have this free thing, the Roku streaming service, which is just like a free service you get when you buy a Roku device and stuff. I do like that they invested so much time and money and advertising dollars into a silly little cult film like this. And Daniel Radcliffe's very good in it. He looks like he's having a lot of fun. Daniel Radcliffe likes to like have an interesting filmography. You're not going to go like, what happened to that guy? That stinks for him. You're like, wait, what? I want to see, so sorry man, I want to see Weird the Al Yankovic Story, which I think is like the first real starring vehicle he's done in a while. But I thought it was like pretty hilarious that like Harry Potter's Weird Al. Like that's pretty amazing. In the pantheon of great kind of mockumentary band things, I don't know if this lives up to a lot of the recent ones, but it's still like so much fun and funny and weird in its places. I sort of want it to be, and also really like that it understood them kind of on a thesis level, like the mythologizing in particular, and how ridiculous and kind of silly a lot of this stuff is, and how him being able to poke fun at it by completely making everything up is a really good concept. It seems like people like this who haven't seen Weird Al before. I do think the abuse with his parents is like, I mean, it was kind of funny. I don't know if that's as funny as people think it is, because I did see some people online saying like, hey, I actually grew up in a house like that. So it's not like, haha, it's more like, oh. That's the only joke I really thought. And when I read a couple of those things, and I felt at the time, I was like, this is not the funniest, like having like an abusive dad. That's like a real thing. Some of the parts play very funny, and that's fine and stuff. It's just like, the whole idea of that didn't work. But overall, I really like this film. I do think like an idea of an artist doing their own biopic and purposely like going way off the reservation in terms of mythologizing is really interesting. I also liked Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna. She was really great. I wonder if she was in the running for the Madonna biopic that Madonna's directing. I'm not sure. But this is, if you're a big Weird Al fan, I think this is a really solid, great time at the movies, or with your Roku, to be honest with you. I don't think it lives up to UHF or anything like that, but it's like, I wouldn't mind watching 3 or 4 more of these. It's just good, solid, fun, very silly entertainment, and we don't get a ton of those every day or anything. So I appreciate it for what it is, but I don't know if it like blew me away or surprised me or made me laugh like, hey, finally we're skewering this. It was more to me like, oh, a lot of people sort of done this. Like, I don't know. I know they had a different bent, but it just didn't feel as funny and fresh as those, because we've had so many music biopics over the years. But I can't say this is that much like those, other than just being a parody and stuff like that. This is just a fun, good Friday night kind of movie, and a bunch of people who wanted to do something a little funky and, get into playing and doing the Weird Al story. You can tell that from Daniel Radcliffe, you tell everyone involved. They're like super into this idea, even if it is a little silly. And I like the silly determination that goes on throughout this, because I think a lot of those Funny or Die or college humor things, they kind of sort of fall apart at the end. Like, I don't know, we didn't write that part, ha ha ho ho. But in this, it's just like, well, let's just go crazier or weirder or funnier. Like, let's have a gag here for no reason and stuff like that. And I think like this film understood what it could do and what it can do, and you end up maybe feeling a little weird, but accepted in that weirdness. And I think, I think the thing with Weird Al, he's like this solid, like innocent, kind of great entertainer of content. Weird, the Al Yankovic Story holds that like level of quality, but I don't think it is the kind of amazing calling card UHF was, but it is probably as close as you could ever kind of get. And I like that it's not, UHF 2 or anything. It's just a very out there idea, and it's probably like the only artist who could get away with it, and it would still be actually pretty funny. And despite not having Smells Like Nirvana, which is kind of lame, I do think this was a worthy kind of follow-up to all the previous like music videos and everything else Al has done, and the level of detail with it. I think Eric Appeal, I'm curious what he's going to do next. This, I think, holds its own within the filmography, like a lot of reboots and things of that nature. It's like, okay, you fit comfortably in the franchise. You didn't You weren't the best thing about it. You weren't the worst thing about it. You didn't invent anything new. And that's sort of like what this is. Like, we've seen his life story done through Behind the Music. We've seen that and seen this. It's like, yeah, it gets all that and tells still a good story. And still in mockumentaries, I think, still a better one. But you kind of, I think, no, it is not necessarily breaking any new ground or anything like that, but maybe you shouldn't be asking that for this. You should just be asking, like, did I have a decent enough time with this silly biopic of a comedy parody musician just sort of, like, going off with their imagination? So I guess in that case, it is a very good movie, but I still found it sort of just, like, nice, light entertainment. I think I'd still put on UHF first, but I'd at least... thinking back on this, and the Eat It joke was pretty amazing. They did still have some really great jokes and memorable parts. It's just, maybe it's hard to compare to UHF because UHF was so good, but I still had a really good time. I had a nice time watching this with my wife sitting on the couch and stuff. I think that's the part I really liked it. And it's like a perfect Friday movie. Everybody's gonna laugh because it's so ridiculous. Everything like that. Daniel Radcliffe's in it, so the Weird Al fans, the non-Weird Al fans can get into it. And I'm curious the barrier to entry this will be for a lot of people. I think UHF might have personally is a better one, but if this is your barrier to entry into Weird Al, I hope you have a lot of fun, and I think you'll get a lot of chuckles along the way as you enter into his weirdness. So if you've seen Weird, the Al Yankovic Story, and you'd like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.